Imagine a time in history when women had no political voice, no right to shape the policies affecting their lives. A time when one half of society was denied a basic civil right. The early 19th century was just such a time. This is the story of the women's suffrage movement. A fight that began as whispers in small private gatherings and grew to the thunderous roar of a nationwide call for change. For over a century, courageous women and their allies fought against an unjust system, battling prejudice, hardship, and sometimes even violence. From the 1848 Seneca Falls Convention, where the fight for women's rights first gained momentum, to the ratification of the 19th Amendment in 1920, this movement reshaped the political landscape of America. Today, we'll explore the leaders, strategies, setbacks, and victories that paved the way for equality. Our story begins in the mid-1800s, a time when women across the country were confined largely to the home, with few legal rights or opportunities. But change was in the air. In 1848, in Seneca Falls, New York, a historic event sparked a fire that would forever transform the role of women in American society. At the Seneca Falls Convention, reformers Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Lucretia Mott, along with nearly 300 other men and women, gathered to demand equal rights for women. Together, they crafted the Declaration of Sentiments, a groundbreaking document that echoed the Declaration of Independence, but with one vital addition: the right to vote. These words would become the foundation of a movement that would inspire generations. The convention was met with ridicule, and the media scorned the idea of women voting as absurd. But Stanton, Mott, and others would not be silenced. For them, the journey had only begun. Enter Susan B. Anthony, a woman who would become synonymous with the fight for women's rights. Anthony, born into a Quaker family who believed in equality, was a tireless advocate for women's suffrage and a master strategist. Alongside Elizabeth Cady Stanton, she helped turn the suffrage movement into a well-organized force. Anthony's strength was her determination and clarity of vision. She and Stanton traveled from town to town, spreading their message, rallying women, and facing fierce opposition. The two founded the National Women's Suffrage Association in 1869, which aimed to secure an amendment to the US Constitution, granting women the right to vote. In 1872, Anthony boldly voted in the presidential election, an act of civil disobedience for which she was arrested and fined $100. Anthony's defiance ignited public outrage and highlighted the injustice of denying women a say in politics. With each setback, Anthony grew more determined. She reminded America that failure is impossible, a phrase that would resonate for generations. By speaking up, she inspired others to fight back, to educate, and to organize. As the movement gained strength, divisions began to emerge. Some leaders felt suffrage should be achieved state by state, while others believed only a federal amendment could secure lasting change. The biggest rift came over the issue of race. Many African American suffragists fought not only for gender equality, but also against the deep-seated racism that plagued the country. Sojourner Truth, Ida B. Wells, and other leaders played crucial roles, though often overlooked. These women reminded America that equality must be universal, and they risked their lives advocating for a world that would recognize their voices. The women's suffrage movement was about more than voting. It was a call for dignity, respect, and recognition of the humanity of every individual. By the early 20th century, new leaders emerged, like Alice Paul and Lucy Burns, who were determined to take more militant action. Inspired by the British suffragettes, Paul and Burns staged hunger strikes, organized parades, and held pickets outside the White House. These women faced violence, arrests, and even force-feeding in prison. Their dedication showed the lengths to which they would go to secure justice. Despite harsh treatment, the publicity they generated helped sway public opinion. After decades of tireless work, protests, and legal battles, the tide finally turned. On August 18, 1920, the 19th Amendment was ratified, officially granting American women the right to vote. This moment was a triumph of resilience, unity, and faith in justice. The suffragists had achieved what many once thought impossible. The women's suffrage movement was more than a victory for voting rights. It transformed the perception of women in society, inspiring generations to continue fighting for equality. The sacrifices made by these women laid the foundation for future movements and paved the way for more inclusive democracies worldwide. Their courage reminds us that lasting change is within our reach, if we believe in it enough to fight for it. From their legacy, we inherit a duty to champion equality and ensure that our voices are heard. Thank you for watching. We hope you were inspired by the journey of the women's suffrage movement and the resilience of those who came before us. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories of changemakers and movements that shaped our world. And join us next time as we explore the civil rights movement, another testament to the power of perseverance.